welcome to episode 307 of Late Night Linux, recorded on the 4th of November 2024. I'm Joe, and with me are Félim.
Remember who? What?
Graham.
Good evening.
And Will.
Hello.
Let's get straight on with our discoveries then. Félim, Fire Builder.
Yeah, so I thought with a lot of the sort of spate of people getting hacked off with Mozilla, and there's various different security focused or whatever focused versions of Firefox, you could actually build your own. And this is a application. It's a single binary download, and it allows you to then follow through a simple series of questions and customize your Firefox.
What, and does it compile you a new binary then?
Yeah, well, what it does, it actually builds you a user.config file. I think it's a JavaScript file, if I remember correctly. I hacked my own Chrome one time, and I think I passed that on to Will, and he hacked his. But this is a way to do it fresh start, and you can configure things like, enabling Bitwarden or AdGuard or the other uBlock origin thing. All those things by default. Changing the fonts that you can configure. There's various options for some of the things like translucent menu bars on the Mac and things like that. So it's cross-platform, Windows, Linux, Mac, and yeah, simple way to sort of customize your Firefox build.
I like how the image that they've used is very much like our all episodes artwork, where it's kind of slices of various websites.
The only thing is they've got more color in the logo that we don't in ours.
Oh, well. One day I'm going to turn it pink or something just for you.
I don't care, as long as it is color.
One of these days I might change it to 00009 or whatever, or 1, whatever the closest to it. So it'd just be just off black.
Off black would be better.
Will, you have rediscovered the Gnome desktop.
I have.
Boo.
It's been, certainly to the week, almost to the day, 5 years since I last used Gnome on the desktop. And I've got a new laptop for my new job, and so I thought I will go back and try Gnome. Well, actually, I asked around a few people and said, what's the wisdom now on desktop Linux? Should I be running Gnome? Should I be running KDE?
Not as you didn't ask me.
Well, I didn't ask you because I thought I might get a slightly biased answer.
An outrageous accusation.
But I did consider KDE. But in the end, I thought, you know what? I'm just going to go for what I thought was an easy life and just do the out-of-the-box Ubuntu on an LTS, and we'll see what would happen. And there are a couple of reasons behind this. One was with Xfce, I felt like I was missing some quality of life improvements in the desktop. Now, I can't put my finger on exactly what it was that I was missing.
Color.
Well, maybe, but now I've got my desktop the way I like it. I still have a pure black Ozzy Osbourne style desktop. But there's just something that I felt I was missing, some new technology, like maybe there were better integrations with things. I didn't really know what it was, but I wanted to find out what that was. And I felt like Xfce was legacy, old-fashioned. Like, I want to try the new stuff, see what I'm missing. Maybe I will discover that Xfce is perfectly good the way it is and I'm not missing anything, and I'll go back to it. But I thought I'd give Gnome a go and see how I got on. And so I took a few notes as I was doing this, and the first note that I took was, in capital letters, make it stop. I did not like the initial out-of-the-box experience at all. I felt like I couldn't do anything with it. I felt very constrained by the settings and the way that things were laid out, and it wasn't exactly what I wanted. Now, what did I want? Well, I wanted my Xfce desktop, it turns out. But I had absolutely no way of doing that out of the box. And I knew to expect some of this. I knew that it would be limited, but I didn't appreciate before I installed it quite how restricted all of that stuff is. And I didn't like the way that it looked out of the box. Just a lot of white space in everything. A lot of, I will call it wasted space. But then when you look into this a little bit, the Gnome developers say, rightly, why is it wasted? Just because a dialog box takes up 3/4 of the screen, you're not actually doing anything else while you're answering that question. So why is it wasted space? And I thought, well, you're right, but I don't care. I don't want it to look like this. And it was incredibly hard to change things. I know that we've said this jokingly over the past, but I really got an appreciation for quite how difficult it was to tweak Gnome out of the box in the way that I wanted.
So did you just install a shitload of extensions? Is that where you're going with this?
Yes, that is where I'm going with this. And there are a couple of specific extensions that I think are worth calling out. Before I did that, though, I wanted to work out what my actual problems were. And the first one was that you must have wallpaper with the latest version of GNOME. There is no option to get rid of it. You can get rid of it. You can go into G settings and you can unset it. But out of the box, you can't get rid of it. The theme and the icons I did not like. The icons, the default icon set was too fiddly, too fine, didn't like it. And the general overall theme, not a fan of that either. And that's Yarrow, which is a shame because I quite liked Yarrow at the start, but now I don't like it anymore. I didn't like the bar at the top. I didn't like the launcher on the left. And so, yeah, it turns out that what I like is a Xfce desktop. Also, the multi-monitor, multi-workspace experience in GNOME is bizarre. The tiling behavior by default is really, really weird. You put a window to one half of a screen and then it pops up and asks you what you want on the other half of the screen. Like, what I want on the other half of the screen is none of your business. Perhaps I want nothing. Stop doing this. And the last thing I really didn't like was the notifications look horrible. So, how do you fix it? Some actual useful, actionable tips now. Extension Manager is the package you need to install. It is in the deb repo. It's in the Ubuntu archive. You can install it, and it's very easy. And then you can actually get to work and start making GNOME work for you. Disable the Ubuntu dock, disable the tiling assistant, and then install dash to panel. And then you can configure it at the bottom, and you can have your little icon bar on the right and your little start menu on the left, or not, as the case may be, and all your icons along the bottom. And you can get in and configure the way that multi-workspace works, so you only have icons for applications that are on that desktop or on that workspace. And that has basically got everything pretty much exactly where I want it. There is another extension called VShell, which I've started playing with, and that does even more tweaks to the dash and the size of the icons. I haven't really spent enough time getting to grips with that yet, but I think it may have a few things to offer. And then finally, the themes are still a work in progress. I have yet to find the perfect theme. So if anybody's got any suggestions for what an old-fashioned theme might look like, please send them my way. I'll be grateful to hear them. At the end of the day, once you've installed these extensions, you can make GNOME look like Windows XP, and you can actually benefit from quite a lot of the nice integrations. The Bluetooth handling is very nice. The network manager is quite nice. It feels like a nice, fast desktop. It has been stable. It has been fast. I'm pretty happy with it now. Now it looks the way that I want it.
Should we tell them about the trouble that you had recording the show for the previous 2 episodes?
That's not Gnome's fault. That's my fault.
Is it though? Isn't it though?
You change your recording machine, Will, and you're lucky that I'm in a good mood today and didn't shout at you.
Let's say Pipewire is to blame.
Well, there's a few things to unpack here, Will, as people say. The first one is just stick with fucking Xfce if you're going to make GNOME look like it. But I suppose you didn't mention one of your motivations, which was my story about how much more battery life I got out of GNOME versus Xfce when playing video.
Yes, that is a very, very good point. That was like my primary motivator in the first place, which made me even ask this question. I have done exactly zero investigation on that front, but hopefully you'll do that for me.
Hopefully, yes. I still haven't got around to that, but I will at some point. Also, good luck upgrading is all I can say. With all these extensions, they're just going to fucking break next time you upgrade.
LTS, innit?
Yeah, so put it off for 2 years, no problem.
And then hopefully the laptop refresh cycle will come around and then I'll start from scratch again.
Fair enough.
But it's a good point. It's a good point. It may come back to bite me yet.
Just think, me and Graham have all these features for free. No effort required.
I must admit, I zoned out a little bit there.
Fair.
Oh, he's allowed to change the wallpaper to not be a wallpaper. Oh.
I think I remember the last time I used GNOME, I had to create my own black wallpaper just so that I
Was it
didn't have
1
any black.
pixel wide?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I just open up GIMP and just create the wallpaper, save it somewhere, and then just use that.
That is so offensive.
A black pixel.
So offensive.
You don't need to do that. You can type in a magic spell in G settings and it will do it for you. But you have to know that.
Was that registry editor? I didn't know that.
Pretty much. Regedit 32.
Well, I am now tempted to try and Xfce-ify GNOME. I'm going to try all the stuff that you've just talked about, Will, and put it on one of my machines.
Yeah, well, let's do it and compare notes because I want to know what you discover.
Will do. Okay, this episode is sponsored by Tailscale. Go to tailscale.com/LNL. Tailscale is the easiest way to connect devices and services to each other, wherever they are. Everyone these days has a VPN as a sponsor, but Tailscale isn't like those. This isn't about hiding your browsing habits from coffee shop owners, and it's not about watching Netflix in another country. Tailscale is a proper VPN for connecting your devices securely. It's great for companies, and it's great for self-hosters. Loads of the Late Night Linux family hosts use Tailscale because it gives you the power of WireGuard with a simple and quick setup. I got it up and running in a few minutes without having to open any ports. Tailscale lets you connect anything, anywhere. Provide connectivity to any resource for your organization, from dashboards to a Synology NAS or Windows file server, from self-managed DNS servers to software as a service applications. If you want it off the public internet, Tailscale will provide secure access. Tailscale's personal plan will always be free, so support the show and try Tailscale out for free today. You'll get up to 100 devices and 3 users for free at tailscale.com/LNL with no credit card required. That's tailscale.com/LNL. Félim, m.uber.com.
Yeah, so I was away for work in a non-English speaking country, so I was lucky most of the time in the fact that I was traveling with work people that also had the app and were using Uber. On the way back, I had to on the way from the airport to the site, it was about a 60-kilometer drive, and I paid €110 taxi bill. So on the way back, I thought, well, fucking hell, it's early in the morning. I definitely needed to book it ahead of time. I'd like either book it with the hotel reception or maybe I can try Uber. So I installed the Aurora app store, which is a way to get the Google Play Store apps, and it installs an APK essentially. And I installed the Uber app, signed up, all that account creation stuff, and then it went, oh, you don't have Google Play services, no dice. I was like, Yeah,
because as a reminder, you run Lineage without any Google shit at all.
I do, because I'm wise.
Because you hate apps like Uber.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do actually hate apps like Uber, but the only problem was I didn't have the ability to talk to the taxi driver.
Yeah, no shit. You have to walk to the taxi driver booth.
Well, there was no taxi driver booth, and our hotel was in the arsehole of nowhere. So if it was beside a taxi rank, I would have just gone to taxi rank and gone, Airporto, and then I'd be sorted. But that was not to be the case, because we were on the outskirts in the middle of nowhere. So I was like, fuck, well, I'm out of luck. I'm going to have to book a taxi with the hotel. And as I was going down, I spotted somebody had posted something on one of the forums saying, oh, if you have an old phone or a one that's not supported by the app, there is m.uber.com. And I went, right. So I went to that and I had to do the authentication dance by sending me various email messages and SMSs. And once it linked in properly, it was actually a really good mobile site. I had to go and pick where I was by zooming into the map. Didn't pick up the GPS, and that's fine. Not a big deal with that. And then I said, okay, book a taxi from hotel to airport tomorrow. And yeah, done. Easy. And worked perfectly. And it was actually a really nice app. And all I can say is I wish more apps were decent mobile websites rather than shitey fucking spy store apps.
Ethically using an unethical app.
Yes, damn right.
Yeah, I was trying to unravel all of that. Okay.
It's like firmware for your graphics card on your Linux system.
But you're still using Uber.
I have used Uber. It's done now. Check.
It's just so damn convenient, isn't it, Félim?
No, it isn't. It's horrible. And I tipped the guy decently because I thought this guy's probably making less money by taking this trip than doing it.
And you gave him an extra 20 cents. Well done.
I rounded up.
Did you stick a fork in your leg every 2 miles? As is your people's way, I understand.
Funny. Yes, let's all enjoy this.
I really think you should have lived by the sword and you should have, I don't know, hitched a ride on the local cart or whatever was passing by.
Maybe I should have.
I'm glad we've not mentioned what country it was, because that might be racist otherwise.
So did the location finding APIs in the browser just do its thing then, and everything worked exactly as it should have done?
No, because I think that's part of Google Play services, or at least I think that's how a lot of people are getting all that location data. And I don't know if it's just the way I've configured the permissions. I've given my browser and I've given Telegram permission to get locations when I suggest it, but it's only ever worked for share my location now, but never track my location constantly. It just doesn't seem to do it. So I don't know if that's a Google Play Services thing or not. I'm not sure. But to be honest, it was easy enough to just zoom in. Well, I mean, I could search for the name of the hotel and straight away it got it, and that was no big deal. But it was actually really good. And if you even go to that page in a browser on a desktop, you can see the cars driving about in various locations, and it's quite well done. I just wish more places would do apps like that. Like, why do I need an app for my fucking cinema? No, I'll just go to the website and pay. I'm paying you good money. Take it.
I'm surprised that it works well enough to arrange a lift or a ride or whatever they call it. Because when I have used the app, if I've been in central London, for example, where getting a GPS fix is notoriously difficult, it's had a right fit about not knowing where I am and I'm not close enough to the road and all kinds of things, and cancelled rides on me because it couldn't work out where I was.
I was able to just pinpoint the exact location and then say, I'll be here at this time. And they said, your driver will wait 5 minutes. And then just before that, I got an SMS, I got an email, and in the browser app, it went, your driver will be there in 5 minutes. I was like, okay, cool. And I could see him on the map in the web app showing up. That was perfect.
Fair play.
And what's code on?
This one falls afoul of the Irish saying to cod on. So I don't know whether they know that or not, but that means to like start bullshitting your way around the place. So I'm not sure if they're going for that or not, but it is a way to compile Python. It's not meant to be fully compatible with like CPython drop-in, but if you have, say, a fairly intensive function that you need to do, or you need to parallelize something, this is a simple way to use Python code. You don't have to go off learning something completely different, and you can get it to compile down and or parallelize into a fully multi-processing sort of way of doing an application and gain the benefits of even GPU and stuff like that, and still keep all of your main code in Python. So quite an interesting project. It's nice the way they're kind of solving the problem for the developer by not changing how the developer has to interface with it, i.e. learn a new language or new way of doing things. And yeah, it might be something for a tool belt that somebody might need.
This does look really cool, actually, just reading about it, especially when it does multi-threading and hardware like GPU support without having to modify your Python code at all.
Yeah, you're using the skills you already have, and the language is adapting to you, or the compiler is adapting to you, is really the way it should be, not the other way around.
Their expertise is distilled into the project itself, and you just have to, I guess, compile it.
Yeah, it's really quite cool. I've not had anything to try it on yet. Obviously, my code is so optimized that there's just even compiling it wouldn't make it any better. Yeah. But yeah, no, cool project. And yeah, it's just I'm looking for a reason to use it, to be quite honest at this point.
Maybe some of your AI ML projects written in Python could benefit.
Yes,
from
perhaps indeed. I need to get in touch with OpenAI though to let me know if I'm doing it right.
Graham, you recently went to the Ubuntu Summit.
Yeah, and I suppose the caveat is that we had a booth. The Open Documentation Academy had a booth at the summit, so I was involved in its planning. We talked a little bit about it last time, about the focus of the plenary, and we were talking about the Film Academy. The booths was kind of where everybody hung out, and that was good. There were loads of community people there. There was Fairphone were there, and UBports were there, and Thunderbird were there, and it was great just, getting a break and talking to those people, which was kind of the highlight of it, at least for me. Speaking to Heather and Monica on the Thunderbird project was really quite inspirational in the fact that they're getting the funding and they're doing the thing that the community wants them to do. Similarly, Fairphone, it kind of brings it to life what these people are doing for sustainability, and Framework were there. I actually ended up doing an interview with Framework and Fairphone, and it felt good, and in a way that outside of FOSDEM, I suppose, you don't often see. And I know I'm employed by Canonical, but the booth thing felt like a very kind of almost an unconference style, and I enjoyed it.
And you got to one-up me by meeting Sean from Hybrid Cloud Show in person.
That's true, yeah. It was great to meet Sean. It's always funny when you meet people that you've only heard. So we had a moment like that. And also we met quite a few people who listened to our shows. People who had actually taken the trouble to go out there. A Rubis Islander, who we always used to mention on Tux Radar, and also listens to this very show, came up to meet me and asked for a hug at the after party, which was very cool. So it had a very positive vibe.
So presumably you didn't get to see many talks then as you were at the booth most of the time.
Yeah, I didn't, unfortunately, which is the downside to it. I think it's all been recorded. I think the live streams have been recorded and are on, I guess, Ubuntu On Air, the YouTube channel, and I think they'll be editing them and publishing those individually along with some of the interviews alongside. But this isn't an advert for that. It's an important part of like what Ubuntu is about and the community, and I felt the booths in particular were a good representation of that.
And it sounds like the social events were pretty good then as well.
There was just kind of a party at the end of it, which was so this was all held in The Hague, which I'd never been to before. I really enjoyed it. It's very easygoing, very relaxed. It's kind of an example of what the UK could have been with 15 years of progressive government.
Of all the things that would never happen.
I know.
That didn't happen the most.
The party was in a church that had been taken over by the party and a DJ. And I think the DJ was actually using open source DJ software, and actually it wasn't cheesy, it was good. Separate to the planning, the booths were good, and it was good to see the community kind of be there, some of them anyway.
Okay, this episode is sponsored by Porkbun.com. Porkbun offers domain extensions tech professionals need, like .app, .dev, and .foo, and at porkbun.com/latenightlinux24, you can get one of these at just $5 for the first year. Every domain from Porkbun includes free features like domain privacy, URL and email forwarding, Let's Encrypt SSL certificates, and more. Need to showcase your next project? There's a .app for that. Building the latest software as a service product that will change the world? Grab a .dev and show it off to the world. Show off your Kung.fu programming powers. Porkbun has a simple user interface, making it easy to manage everything about your new domain from one place. No hunting around to find the feature you need. Plus, Porkbun is backed by 5-star support 365 days a year. Do a quick search and you'll see that Porkbun has thousands of 5-star reviews from actual real human customers. So support the show and go to porkbun.com/latenightlinux24 to get a .app, .dev, or .foo domain for only $5 for the first year. That's porkbun.com/latenightlinux24. On to a bit of admin then. First of all, thank you everyone who supports us with PayPal and Patreon. We really do appreciate that. If you want to join those people, you can go to latenightlinux.com/support. And remember that for various amounts on Patreon, you can get an advert-free RSS feed of either just this show or all the shows in the Late Night Linux family. And you even get some episodes early. And if you want to get in contact, you can email show@latenightlinux.com. Let's do some feedback then. We've had a fair few people write in about Firefox and Mozilla. VT and Mike recommended Zen Browser. Mike said, although it's still in alpha, it's worked perfectly well for me as my daily driver for a couple of months now. It's Firefox-based, but without any apparent Mozilla nonsense. No tracking, and it has a couple of features that are pretty essential for me. Vertical tabs and the ability to set a different search engine for private browsing sessions. Oh yeah. Zen has really hit the sweet spot for me, and I highly recommend it. I'm just skeptical about these downstream Firefox forks, if that's even a thing, rebuilds. I get why people would want it for various features and everything, but they're just not going to be able to be independent if Firefox goes away. And I'd rather just have the upstream and get the updates more quickly and stuff like that.
That's why I was thinking the Firefox builder might be a better way to go. It's almost like, could you have your own distribution, or would you have a script that customizes an already existing distribution? I think the script customizing a distribution is a less heavy, easier to maintain in the long run way to do things.
Sean writes, much of the community remains steadfastly in defense of Mozilla and Firefox, despite repeated offenses and finding ways to annoy their user base. The general consensus seems to be some combination of it's not Chromium and I wish they would just make a browser, with automatically enabled privacy invasive features sprinkled in every few months. My question to you is, What would Mozilla or Firefox have to do to damage that relationship beyond repair and make you switch browsers? Alternatively, would the arrival and traction of literally any other open source non-Chromium browser be enough?
No. And quite a lot. Because if you look at what the other companies do, it is quite a lot.
Well, what if Mozilla went all in on crypto, let's say, and had their own token and, did a Brave, essentially?
Okay, so that compares them to Brave. So they're only as bad as Brave there in that case.
Well, they're kind of not as bad because, the other baggage with Brave.
Okay, fair. But equally, they're as bad as each other. They've crossed the threshold there. The problem is, what do you do, though? Because you can't get a separate Gecko rendering engine. And if you're using a Chromium rendering engine, sure, you might as well. It doesn't matter at that point. The monoculture internet has arrived.
Yeah, I think that they would have to do something really, really bad for me to move off. I can't think what that would be, though.
It would have to be some massive misstep in privacy that they have said that they will never, for example, share your information about, I don't know, your machine or something, and then selling that information to, for example, Google. It would have to be of that order where they said they would keep your information private and then they go and profit from it because they need a few quid. That's the sort of level I'd be thinking along. And I genuinely don't think they would ever do that.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, similarly for me, I think if they moved to Blink, for example, and gave up Gecko, I would find it very difficult to choose Firefox over Chromium.
I hadn't thought of that, but yeah, I suppose they could just abandon Gecko.
Stop giving them fucking ideas, for Christ's sake. Jesus. Do you just hate all the software I use? Is what you all are all doing here? Like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, maybe Thunderbird could buy K9 and change it. Yeah, I don't know what I would do in that situation. I don't think I would want to use Chrome.
Oh, absolutely not.
But would I just use Chromium at that point?
Chromium's not that much better, though. That's the problem. There's a lot of tie-ins. Like, I know I've heard about the build of it. It's not very clean build, having never done it myself. But yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's important to have different, well, at least two different rendering engines for the web. It would really become a monoculture, and that would become a standard basically under Google's control. At least Gecko provides a genuine alternative implementation of accessing the web, which sounds remarkable to say, actually. It's become so complicated.
I guess the more pertinent question might be, how would a standard exist that would be okay if there was only just the one standard?
Yeah. The Linux Foundation should own the Blink engine.
Jesus, you're right. Why have we not thought about this? That's a brilliant idea. Them and their lawyer. Oh, yeah, sorry.
Yeah, they could deal with any legal problems, no problem.
Yeah. And they'd get a lot of corporate investment.
What about this last question? Would the arrival and traction of literally any other open source non-Chromium browser be enough? Well, no. Well, it depends about the traction aspect of it, because there is another browser that is built on a completely independent engine. But it turns out the fella behind it is a no politics guy.
Yeah.
And we know what that means. So that's dead to me, that one.
And also, I think he's probably like on the cusp of having been 85% there, and then it's that last 15%. Hang on, let me check the maths. Yes. The last 15% where you're going to need to be the likes of Firefox or Chromium to get all those other weird standards where there's so many competing sort of rules that over the time has existed that it's not that fucking easy. It seems great at the start. Like self-driving cars. Oh, yeah. In California on the highway. Might work most of the time until it meets the center divider, but not quite as simple on normal roads.
Yeah, try some of the winding roads in the west of Ireland, for example.
Yes.
Are you allowed to call them roads at that point?
Single vehicle tracks, I think would be probably a more accurate description, with walls on either side and sheep in the middle.
But yeah, it's like mobile OSs. You've always got the problem of chasing the big two. Even if you started a browser engine today and threw millions and millions of dollars at it, with, a massive team of developers and management and all the rest of the stuff that you'd need, you'd be constantly chasing the developments happening with Blink and Gecko, and you would never catch up.
Well, Microsoft couldn't even manage to do that. Oh, here they have a bit of cash.
Yeah, they couldn't manage it with a mobile OS. And again, you're never going to catch up with Android and iOS. And they didn't manage it with a browser. So everybody in the end just folds and goes with Chromium as a base and Blink. So I just don't think that that is practicable, let's just say. So really, we're just stuck with Firefox and there's fuck all we can do about it. And they can just keep doing shit and it would take something extreme for us to move away from it. And that's not a good situation to be in because it means they can get away with a lot of shit that they otherwise wouldn't. So thanks, Sean. That was a really cheerful question for us that is not depressing in the slightest. Right, well, we better get out of here then. We'll be back next week when it'll probably be news and stuff, but we'll have to see. Until then, I've been Joe.
I've been Félim.
I've been Graham.
And I've been Will.
See you later.